Ahsoka, the TV series, brought to you by Star Wars Doctrine. Logan and Cody here discussing all of the new announcements of the Disney investors meeting, which everyone watched who didn't have money invested in Star Wars or in Disneyland, but whatever, right? Lots of cool, exciting announcements, and we've taken them one by one. This one is the Ahsoka breakdown, telling you everything we know and kind of hopes and dreams, expectations, theories, and we're probably all going to be wrong, but we can at least recite some facts. And here are the facts. It's called Ahsoka. It had a pretty picture. Um, it's helmed by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. That's word for word. And it is a limited series. Now, that's an important distinction and something that definitely altered my thought process and all my theories. Every single one of them was changed by that one word
Right.
because the limited series, we only know of one other limited series that I'm aware of. The only other limited series that I know of is something called the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, right? And we know that that's only one season and I think 6 episodes. It could be 6 to 8. I don't remember if there was an official announcement on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know they like 8. The Mandalorian was 8 twice so far. So, but either way, we're talking about a one series, probably no more than 8 episode TV show about Ahsoka. Um, that is going to take place during the same time period of as the Mandalorian and the other newly announced Rangers of the New Republic, all under the supervision of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So they've got that time period, I guess, pretty well
Yeah. And
capitalized
the
on it. They're
fact
like,
that,
this is ours. You can't have this.
yeah,
You can have
and
other
that means
crap.
they're going to intersect a lot, right?
Right.
Like that's,
We're
and that's
talking
why
about
they're keeping it consistent with the same directors and the same story writers. I wonder if that would have been a good idea for other things. I don't
yeah. I wonder if like I think it could go bad if you didn't have like two people over creating one cohesive vision. I mean writing it all from the beginning. Beginning, middle, end. Even if they had different directors involved. I wonder if that could go poorly.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, getting
So this is
sidetracked.
good.
But we were thinking
This is
that there's
good.
going
This
to
is
be
very good.
a lot of days of Disney Channel. We're going to have That So Sweet Life of Ahsoka or something. Disney Channel. I mean, a lot of the shows had a lot of random crossover events, and we won't be surprised if we see Ahsoka, as she already has crossed over into the Mandalorian, continue having maybe run-ins with other characters that we might meet through Rangers of the New Republic, the Mandalorian, etc. Shouldn't be surprised if that happens. I mean, it's the same time period during Star Wars, and I mean, when you're running around with certain big players, people are going to intersect. That makes sense. But I guess, as Mallory, I think, is catching on to, my same feelings, that the fact that this is a limited series absolutely, absolutely changes what I want out of the show. Before I was like, cool, Ahsoka Tano, this should be a really cool opportunity to continue off of Rebels, right?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what everyone thought? We're going to see Thrawn in live action. We're going to go find Ezra Bridger, see Sabine. Now I absolutely, absolutely don't want that to happen.
Really.
Well, if it's going to be 8 episodes, that sounds like a pretty lame way to end that personally.
Yeah. Um, this is the show that like after The Mandalorian, it was a surprise that we're getting it, but not really because the way The Mandalorian left it, it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're definitely, you don't go get someone like Rosario Dawson. The time to bring her into live action just for one episode, there's obviously going to be something.
For
So,
sure.
so this is like the biggest surprise that was expected kind of thing. Um,
Pretty much the only one like that we didn't know about, right? We knew about Andor and stuff, but like this was the one where like everyone's like, "Wow, who could have seen this coming?"
right, right, and doesn't mean I'm any less excited, but
For sure.
definitely. But my thought process is still this, like it's still kind of the same. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that it's gonna take place after what we saw in The Mandalorian. I think it's gonna pick up from there. My thought from the beginning of all this is that that takes place right before she goes to meet with Sabine to go find Ezra.
Right.
And I know that maybe a limited series sounds like not a lot of time,
Hmm.
But with the other two series going on that are supposed to connect, I
Hmm.
think having a limited series with Ahsoka where she goes gets Sabine, goes to find Ezra and Thrawn, maybe finds Ezra and Thrawn, and then
Right.
Ezra and Thrawn can go cross over into the Mando series.
Hmm.
So even if that's the end of the Ahsoka series, and then if there's a culmination of events, as we know,
Right.
with all three of these series is at the end, Ahsoka could still appear in the Mandalorian season 3, even though her series is done. You know,
Do you mean that could be a climax culminating in a climactic story event?
exactly. So it's like just because Ahsoka's only going to have 8 episodes doesn't mean
Hmm.
she might not appear in one of the other shows.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I do think you bring
It's
up a
just
good
that,
point. I I am totally okay with Thrawn and Ezra existing. I guess I am just worried, and they've done a good job so far. That doesn't mean I'm not worried, right? But
right,
I'm worried that they're gonna try and resolve that story, I guess, in 6 episodes, 8 episodes, or whatever.
and make it feel rushed or something.
Right. I mean, Thrawn is supposed to be this big bad guy. He's kind of a well-known villain, especially in Legends, and I know a lot of people do kind of hold him as one of their favorite Star Wars characters. And I feel like it could be pretty easy, to make it so you could write a really good story, in my opinion, in 8 episodes where Ahsoka goes, finds Ezra and with Sabine, and they have this cool epic showdown and beat Thrawn, and boom, hurrah. But I do feel like that would kind of be almost a letdown on a big, like a bit, an option for like to me like a full series. But I do think that concept of a climactic story event, to me it seems like Rangers of the New Republic really could be an option for, I don't know, just overall bigger stories, right? So can't really think of things being much bigger than maybe Thrawn coming back to work with
Gideon,
Moff Gideon. Yeah, that would
yeah,
be
I think
that'd be
that's
pretty big.
absolutely a possibility. I don't think in the Ahsoka series, Ahsoka's just going to go kill him or something.
That'd be pretty awesome. The
I
end.
think they'll
You're just like,
rescue Ezra.
right. I do think 100% what you echoed though originally, like with that concept when she's like, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" She has no idea where he is. She's going to be like, "Hey, Sabine, got a got an
Got to lead.
address. Let's go.
Got an address.
It's in my phone book.
Yeah, he's going to have to go find a wayfinder to navigate her way through
Go
the
get a
unknown
map.
regions.
Pull this up on MapQuest, Google Maps,
Yeah,
Apple Maps, whatever they use, and Sidious Maps. I don't know what it's called in Star Wars, but
yeah.
yeah.
Hey Siri. Hey Sidious.
Hey, Sidious, yeah. But I don't know. I think it would be cool. I guess the one thing I wonder, question, etc. Okay, is with the concept of it being a limited series, that would mean to me, if they come back into Rangers of the New Republic, that at the end of the day, I want the characters of each show to remain the characters of each show. I don't mind crossovers. I don't mind everyone coming together. But The Mandalorian is about Mando or Din Djarin and the child.
Right.
Even Cara Dune, Grief Karga against Moff Gideon. That's fine. And Ahsoka can come in all she wants, but at the end of the day, it's not
She has
Ahsoka's
her own
show.
series, and it's yeah.
And I don't really want her, being tagging along in the show for like a whole season or whatever. I don't want her just to be like that, a norm character for even a season, right? So I feel like that could be kind of scary potentially with ending that, because I'd just be worried that maybe Rangers of the New Republic might get too loaded down with all of that stuff coming together. You know what I mean? Like if it's one big event, that's
Yeah.
exciting, but if I think it could easily kind of get overladen with too many characters for an extended period of time.
It, yeah. Yeah. And you don't want it to get too confusing too, where you're like, wait, did that happen in Mando or did that happen in the
Right.
New Republic or was that on Ahsoka? I don't, and that definitely gets that way in the DC universe with Arrow, Flash, and all that. It gets confusing sometimes, and to me, you don't want it to be that convoluted.
For sure.
So
Yeah, it's
I agree with you on that.
want characters to stay true to like their own series for the most part. Obviously, Star Wars is too
Right.
interconnected to like ignore things. However, you don't want it to be confusing. But I guess to me, this brings up one important question: will Ahsoka die by the end of the
Hmm.
Ahsoka TV shows, Rangers of the New Republic, Mandalorian, etc.? Will she die?
I'm gonna say no, and I think it's just because I don't think Filoni has the heart to kill her off. Honestly, like
Okay.
I don't know it, if the arc that they if they do a really awesome story arc that permits it, then that would be cool. But I'm also she's also a character that I'm okay with not knowing her death. Like that's fine with me.
Let's
Um,
see. Yeah, and I'm personally like leaning towards I think it'd be cool to actually like end her
yeah,
character because I don't necessarily think there's something wrong with dying,
no, there's not.
right?
No,
There's nothing wrong with that in
she lived
Star
a
Wars
great life,
especially,
done
right?
amazing things.
And there's also nothing wrong with Ezra dying. I mean, there's to me there's all these things and I don't think that's bad. I mean, Ezra's, a little bit younger than Ahsoka, but at the end of the day, I think I would like Filoni to kill her off to kind of end her life at some point. And, she can disappear into the forest. She can do something really cool.
Yeah,
I don't really care, but I do think it'd be kind of cool to kind of end her story. But I do agree with you. I don't think Filoni will ever do it. But I do think it would be kind of a nice wrap up. I do think sometimes things are supposed to end, and I think Thrawn needs to die. I do think Thrawn needs to die personally.
at some point he has to. I agree with that.
Because if he's not dead, like I guess to me,
Then where
when
was
you're
he?
when you're leading these things on, like you can't. This can only go on
It
for so
can't
long. Where
stay
then all of a sudden,
open
yeah, it
ended
can't be so
every
open
time,
ended
right?
every time, right? I mean, when
Like the Rebels one fit, and that was fine because there's
right,
still a lot of time. But if you're gonna in this time period, yeah, you're right, right. Like he obviously wasn't a, I don't know.
right, is Ahsoka really around doing nothing at the same time during the Rise of Skywalker, during the Force Awakens?
Yeah,
How many Jedi can we do that story with, right? I mean, it already feels weird
right.
enough to me sometimes in the Empire era to be like, hey, look at all these Jedi who actually didn't die. Now we've done a good job of showing, hey, look, Ahsoka had walked away from the Order. She wasn't acting as a Jedi at all at this point. She doesn't want to be a Jedi. That's not who she is. But she's still helping out, and they did a really good job making her a cool spy. They did a good job of like showing the other Jedi who've lived, or the other Jedi who've lived, were all Padawans. They had no idea what the hell to do, right? But now if you're going to take all these Padawans who got trained and do the exact same thing moving into the sequels, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, we can't have Ahsoka Tano, who's really come back as a kind of a full-fledged Jedi at this point to me, who does nothing. You can't have that with Ezra. You can't have that, you
With
know.
everybody,
Yeah, we can't have like 40 Jedi who all just hid or were
right?
busy.
Well, and how? Like, okay, this brings up something in my head. The fact that we know
Hmm.
Hayden Christensen is coming back to Star Wars.
Right, I've
The
heard of that.
opportunity, right? It's kind of big news. The opportunity for him to be a Force ghost and possibly teach Ahsoka how to become one with the
Okay,
Force,
let's not cry
possibly.
in the middle of a
Uh,
Zoom call, okay? What the crap is wrong with
I
you?
know, I know, but really, like this is something that could just shake the whole Star Wars universe. A reuniting of them, and maybe she becomes one with the Force, gets to be with Anakin, and you get a shot of her and Anakin as Force ghosts,
Right,
or even like I don't know. I like the idea that maybe he teaches her about becoming one with the Force, and
right.
so that you know, I don't know. I just
There's
to me that could just be. It was a must for me that Anakin should appear as a Force ghost in Episode 9, and he didn't. So this would be a great opportunity to bring that back into. What better character than Ahsoka?
hmm
If you really want to get crazy, you could have Obi-Wan as well with Ewan McGregor, but at
I've
least
heard I've heard they're
Anakin.
both available filming
Yeah,
Star Wars
yeah,
things.
exactly. And so there's no reason that you shouldn't have Force Ghost Anakin at some point in the show because there's already been. You showed me a really cool comic that a fan
Right.
had art where Ahsoka finds out that Anakin became good again, and
Right.
at the
Anakin
end,
came
and
back, right? That's a
how
big
much
deal.
how
How
much
much
would
of
that mean
Ahsoka's
to
life
her?
not that she spent going, my master, my mentor, my big brother, you know,
Yeah,
when I finally got to see
and
him
there's
again,
pain.
he tried to murder me. It was bad. Bad
How
experience.
much would that? Oh, I hope we get to see that. I hope we get to see her learning that he came back and them
Right.
talking again.
And
That would be.
I don't think this is shown as well as it maybe should have been, but to me, I have to think that when Princess Leia finally goes to be one with the Force, I have to think that like Luke Skywalker standing there waiting for her to become one with the Force, right? You don't see it, but I have to imagine that like I mean, you kind of think of it like maybe angels for like they're waiting for them. I don't have to think that
right?
like how cool would it be if Ahsoka ends up passing, like maybe she's injured and stuff, like there's I know
And Anakin appears to her,
when Luke dies, there's a lot of cool concepts about people like kind of bringing him, right?
and supposedly he heard Anakin.
That's
You
bull
know,
crap. I had my volume cranked to like 300 and I never
well,
heard it.
it's in the
Even
novel
the
though.
novelization, yeah, right.
Yeah,
But like, how cool would it be if like Anakin goes up there and is like, "It's okay, Snips. You can come with me" or something like that, right? Like, how cool would that like
oh
scene
snips.
be,
Yeah,
right?
and him just like reaching out her hand to like, I'll show you the way or something like it,
Right. How cool would that
and then
be?
she just lets go, and then I would cry.
Like when you have a moment like that, when you have a moment where people are
Now I
gonna
want her to
pass,
die
right? Well, that's jacked up.
in a good way.
I can't wait for Ahsoka to die. What?
Sounds like the greatest death of all time.
But how cool I feel like how much of a missed opportunity, how special those moments can be, and I mean, especially if I really want. Okay, the lack of Force Ghosts being used properly in Star Wars infuriates me, but how cool would it be if Obi-Wan and
And then
Anakin are guiding her through this process of just, in general?
yeah,
Like, hey, so I hear you want to be a Jedi again, And then, like that could culminate in where they come back to her and help her out with this super sweet scene, right? So, I don't know. I think there's too many
love
cool
it.
options for it, and I don't know. I think they have a potential to end things and kind of tie things up and not leave up too many loose ends because
In a
we're
good
talking
way.
about that in such good ways.
Yeah. So does Filoni have the heart to let her die?
Probably not. I mean, in like 9, when basically everyone's like, well, she's probably dead because she became one of the Force, he's like, maybe not,
He's
and
like,
you're like,
but
really?
is she?
Why did you do
And
that?
they're like, no.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I remember like that
yeah,
that thing for like a month, just being like, why? You could have just said it. It would have ended so many problems. Okay.
right. He likes to do that. He likes to
Do you know
throw
how
bad
many
emotions
arguments people have been in on the internet because of you?
just because of that.
Could
Yeah.
have cleared things
No.
up, okay? But anyways, Ahsoka, we know almost nothing about, but I think there's so much potential for it, especially as Cody pointed out. There's an option for them to really bring back Thrawn and Ezra and have it work out into a really cool ending that we would see in Rangers of the New Republic, which Disney has stressed will have, um, which will intersect with other stories and have a climactic story event, which I think is really exciting. So definitely stay tuned for what's going to happen with Ahsoka, what's going to happen with everything else. We're going to, obviously keep you updated as timelines are announced because right now we don't have any dates for anything. But we can imagine that they'll probably start working on it after they wrap up some other things, with like maybe the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, etc. And Andor series when they can get more of their people back. You don't want to spread things too thin. So